Hello, folks, and welcome back to Rugby Ascendant. This is Chris, and this is a breakdown of what we saw happen in the match today, the 20th of November, the final test of the autumn series for the Springboks, in which they go out losers, defeated by England 27-26 in a very tight contest, which South Africa didn't lead, frankly, until after the 70th minute when, on the strength of penalties, they went ahead 18-17. Well, let's take a look at some of my analysis from the first half. In the first half, the Springboks scrum was a disaster, an absolute disaster, a big detractor from the game. Their lineouts were dodgy. Unbelievable we managed to get lineouts at all, given how poorly they were managed. Then the defense was suspect at times. The kicking game was a plus for the most part in the first half. Decent box kicks, good kicks for field position, and Pollard was mostly on the money with some pretty good kicks in the first half, keeping us in the game. And composure was pretty good. The Springboks could have gotten all out of whack very quickly in the first half as England scored a try in the first couple of minutes. Dodgy play by the Springboks, big mistakes, and England got a try very quickly and went up by converted try 7-0 early in the game. Took a while for South Africa to get back in the game after that, but they kept their composure. And they stayed in the game. In the second half, they came out and played far better in many aspects of the game, but the end result was not a victory. And I'm going to talk about that, plus a few other issues, as well as England's play here. So let's take a look at the second half. What happened here? Well, in the second half, the bomb squad came in, and they made a dramatic improvement, and the scrums improved tremendously in the second half. To be fair to the starting line, front line, they actually had a really good scrum there just before they came out, and ironically, they came out. So great scrum. Great improvement there, and that was beneficial for the team. The lineouts remained dodgy throughout the second half for the most part. The defense improved in many respects, although the one truly weak spot that cost us immensely was when that line break took place. There were substitutions. South Africans brought in new players, and then they pooched the line out, and England went right through it, sliced through it. Good support run to score the try, just like that. And then the kicking game was a distraction in the second half too. Missed kicks from Pollard, and then Elton Jantjies missed the conversion on Mapimpi's try. Of course, he wasn't helped by the fact that Mapimpi scored the try, as he always does, like 9 out of 10 times, it seems, in the far left-hand corner. Yes, I know he's a left wing, but you've got to, as you get across that line, take a look and see if there's a chance for you to make a dummy and make a move around to score closer to the post. And he left Jantjies hanging out there. Jantjies kicked it straight and true. Unfortunately, he kicked it straight and true just past the left post, which cost us a point. Those 2 points would have been the difference in the game. Anyway, maybe not. Maybe England would have kicked for the corner and got a try in the end. Who knows? Kicking was not a good strong point. And then composure. Springboks lost their composure in the second half, but they weren't alone. England also lost their composure repeatedly. Mario Itoje acting a bit like a fool several times. Courtney Lawes really acting the fool, especially for the role of captain, starting and instigating all sorts of issues on the pitch. Very poorly done. But the Springboks lost their composure late in the game. We had an amazing line break from Eben Etzebeth. He just came surging through there, and not much support behind him. Malcolm Marks got up there, but for some reason the penalty was called against the Springboks, bringing off their feet, I think was the call. Still puzzled by that call, and England got the ball back, and that's when things started to unravel. They kicked the ball for a line out. The line out England managed to secure, despite poor handling of it. And then they come across the pitch, and there's a kick over the top. Sia Khaleesi goes up in the air for the ball. And this is something I think needs to be changed in the rules, in that he gets called for a penalty, a yellow card, not a penalty, yellow card, and then taken out for 10 minutes, which is 5 minutes to go in the game. And from there, it was pretty much sealed the way things were going, although the Bucks held on for a bit longer. But eventually committed penalties that there was a penalty called on Franz Sten for, charging into the ruck, but he came up and tried to stop, and it appeared as if he was tripped. Whatever the case is, the Springboks blew it, and they had a chance to win this game. Their poor play in the first half put them in such a deep hole. They should have scored tries, and they didn't. They left 3 or 4 tries, a begging, and also this stupid rule from World Rugby in which the team that holds the ball up gets a goal line kick. That needs to go away. And the reason I say this is for the same reason I've said all along, ever since it was introduced this year and surprised me in the U.S.-Canada game, is that no one should be rewarded if the official in the TMO can't see whether the ball is grounded or not. I thought we'd scored a try before that thing ever went to Franco or to Quagga Smith, and he tried to get in, and he was legitimately held up. So, anyway, it's just a rule that needs to go away. Well, that's the Springboks. I'm not really impressed with a lot of aspects of the game today, despite the valiant effort on their part. Let's take a look at England and see what I have to say about England. Now, let's be honest. This is a rare occasion. You're going to catch me wearing an England top. That's a pretty rare occasion. Anyway, let's take a look at England. In the first half, my thoughts on England's performance in the first half against the Springboks. First half, their scrum was far more impressive, and it did them justice in the first half. Their lineouts were also dodgy, and this remained an aspect of the game throughout this game for both squads. Defense, on all measure, I'd say that it was pretty good. They did stop the Springboks when they had to. And their kicking game was very good. Marcus Smith had a brilliant game. I don't like the guy personally, but he's a brilliant young player. He's got a lot of potential. Could become one of the greatest players if he stays injury-free and keeps it up going forward. And composure, England walked out with a halftime lead. They did a really good job there in that first half, scoring those tries and taking advantage of dodgy play by the Springboks. So all in all, composure went really well for England in that first half. So good, well done on them. They earned that first half, and honestly, I think that's pretty much where they won the game, despite South Africa dominating the second half. Think about rugby, folks. It's often a tale of two halves. Look last week at Kenya and Namibia. Namibia was losing 24-21 in the first half, came out and scored 39 unanswered points to run away with the game in the second half. Today, they were trailing 10-5. In the second half, they were out there, and they scored a whole bunch of unanswered points, 36 to win 41-10. Well, it's no different here in this major event between these two titanic clashing titans here. Well, in the second half for England, let's take a look at my thoughts on England's performance in the second half. Their scrum, South Africa's bomb squad ate them up, and South Africa controlled the scrum in the second half. Their lineouts remained dodgy throughout the game, and they were worn down by the Springboks' endless crashing into them, really wore them down to defense. They're very fortunate that they got the held-up ball against Quagga Smith. Great defensive play by one player. That really saved the game right there, that play right there. Their kicking remained sterling throughout. Marcus Smith kicked brilliantly. Other players kicking for a fielding position went pretty well too, had some good kicks. But their composure was also atrocious in the second half. We saw Courtney Laws playing the role of villain throughout the second half, starting all kinds of conflict, unnecessary. And we also saw Mario Itoje doing similar things. Their composure was not good. They were rattled. They were very rattled. England's very fortunate to come away with a win in this. Not that they don't deserve it, but very fortunate to come away with a win. The mistakes by the Springboks and, frankly, what many of us who are Springboks fans would call some dodgy decisions by the official in the last 5 minutes of the game really made an impact here. But it was either team's game to win, and in the end, England won the game. So all props to England. They've won this game. They deserve the victory, and they walk away with it. The first half alone, they deserved a victory. South Africa needs to stop this nonsense about we're comfortable winning games with 30 points or less. It cost you a game today. Now, to be fair, they did play a more open style and lots of this over-the-top box kicking, but we also saw some stupid stuff in which the Springboks have the ball inside the 10-meter line on England's side of the field, and they do a box kick into the 22. For what? They're just going to take the mark, stop the play, and kick it up the field. That stuff was disastrous against Australia and the British and Irish Lions series. I don't know why they think that's a good idea. Box kick, fine, but not into the 22, where a guy can just take the mark. Silly stuff. The kicking game has been something that really you have to wonder about this year. There you have it, folks. England wins 27-26 at Twickenham, tying up the Springboks all-time 11 victories apiece at Twickenham between the two countries. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Be sure to become a subscriber. Smash the button right down there, and you'll get top-notch interviews with rugby players and officials and management from across the globe, and live reaction coverage for Currie Cup, Major League Rugby, International Test, and the United Rugby Championship right here on Rugby Ascendant.